TikTok will be banned in America.
The move is a matter of national security.
This is so much bigger than that.
Massive nationwide cell phone outage.
It disrupted cell service for millions of customers.
Outages across the country.
Facebook and Instagram services
down.
Instagram has been hacked.
Cyber attack on a healthcare company.
Users were kicked off Facebook and Instagram.
Work of hackers.
Social media user experienced outages.
This was a global outage.
And a cyber attack impacting healthcare providers.
Did you actually read the pages and pages of TikTok's terms of service?
We collect certain information about the device.
Facing the possibility of a prolonged shutdown.
This app has the potential of being a mass surveillance tool against American people.
They've already given us warning.
It was in American airspace and it didn't have permission to be there.
The most significant and consequential cyber attack on the U.S. healthcare system in American history.
Do you think this is just a coincidence?
Are we on the brink of World War III?
I think we're the closest that we've ever been.
China has been so patient.
It's the Chinese government's long-term strategy.
This won't be a regular war. Weapons of mass destruction, the likes of which nobody's ever seen. I've seen.
There can be no peace in the world.
Already preparing for the end.
We are ready to use all necessary means. A surprise attack by China on American facilities.
And who knows if today is the day and this is the last video.
World War I, World War II were terrible, horrible. Annihilation.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima. They have been repaid many-fold.
BC4.
We are following breaking news out of Baltimore, Maryland. That is where the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed early this morning.
And as we've been hearing, this is a very significant port to the U.S. economy and to the economies abroad because it is the largest entry point in the U.S. for foreign cars and trucks.
The cause of this collision has not been determined. The Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore has confirmed that a Singapore-registered vessel was involved in the Baltimore Bridge collapse.
TikTok is being banned, and the reason behind it is much scarier than you think. Like end of the world scary.
TikTok being banned isn't nothing new. We've been hearing about it for a really long time. In fact, back in 2020, even President Trump was talking about banning TikTok. And disclaimer, this video has nothing to do with politics.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
The concern is the security risk here in terms of how TikTok handles user data and whether or not it goes back to China or the Communist Party.
A lot of people were mocking the idea of banning TikTok, me myself being one of them. Now there is more of a possibility now of TikTok being banned than before, and it's because things have gotten much worse. And I'm gonna get to that in a second. But just recently it was brought to the House in which they passed a bill making it one step closer to being banned altogether. But why, if this was being talked about back in 2020, just now we're getting to it? Like something must have happened, right? Now here's the thing, things don't get brought to the House overnight like this. It takes time. And believe me, it wasn't because Trump brought this up back in 2020.
The yeas are 352, the nays are 65.
And now heads to the Senate. If signed into law, it would force TikTok's Chinese owner, ByteDance, to sell the platform within 6 months or face a possible ban in the U.S.
One of the issues is, what do you get when you buy it? Because they're not going to give us the algorithm, because if they give us the algorithm, we can see, in fact, if they've been spying.
Even my friend James Charles had this to say about it.
It's the dumbest that I ever heard. Makes me so mad beyond belief. We are starving, people are dying, people are in jail for marijuana charges. We're in a war that we should not be in the first place. And TikTok is our most pressing concern? I don't think so. It's also infuriating and a test to our political system that bill got introduced, 5 minutes ago? And it was passed this morning and I was already going to the Senate, whereas there's already all sorts of bills that take weeks, months, years and never get anything done to them. I don't think so. It goes to show, if somebody wants something done, it can be done, but we love to dilly-dally and make it not happen, so.
He's absolutely right, kinda. There's things going on in our world that are absolutely worse than having to worry about a social media app, right? Like he said, there's people starving out there. We're dealing with poverty here in the United States. Inflation is at historical highs. Homeless situation is just getting worse and worse. Something had to have happened recently for this to be brought up so fast the way it was. And I am so shocked that no one is talking about this given the timeline, the perfect timeline. In my last video that I uploaded on this channel, I was talking about an AT&T outage that had happened, and I was telling people to get ready because just 3 weeks prior to that, we were given a warning from the FBI that there's going to be cell phone outages, electricity are going to go down, possibly our gas wells. And I think some people misunderstood this video. Everything is connected to the internet. If it gets hacked, it can cause total devastation. I don't care what generation you come from. Your life will be affected and it will not be good.
My suspicion is we need to be prepared.
Food delivery is gone. Water doesn't work. Your telephones don't work. The world goes back to 1859 and we're all in the dark and the lights are out.
We are seeing ongoing cyber attacks across the country.
And this is what happened a week after AT&T went down. And it wasn't just AT&T. I think they got the worst of it, but T-Mobile was down, Verizon. They seemed to fix their issues a little faster than AT&T. Right after uploading that video, I did get some comments of people complaining about their service being down in their part of the world, like Australia and India. And there may be a lot more. Now, like I said, a week later, Facebook and Instagram go down.
Breaking right now, a massive outage.
This massive cyber attack.
Around 10 a.m., platforms run by Meta like Facebook Threads and WhatsApp went down.
Nobody can log in right now.
Thousands of social media users were plunged into digital darkness.
Facebook and Instagram are both down.
This is the message users received. The work of hackers.
Y'all better wake up, man.
I remember waking up that morning and it's just kind of like a habit. I go through my social media. Nothing is working and I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe there's some sort of glitch happening, and that does happen from time to time with some social media, but this was a little bit different. It was out for a long time. In fact, Facebook, aka Meta, which runs Instagram, Facebook, they lost a lot of money that day.
Social media blackout was certainly felt by Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg, whose net worth declined by nearly $3 billion just in a day. Ouch, that must have really hurt.
And out of all days, it happened to be on Super Tuesday. If you don't know what Super Tuesday is, it's a huge deal for our presidential candidates. Winning on this day is a big deal. It provides momentum for the candidates. With media attention, fundraising, any performance glitches can stall a campaign hardcore. And that is exactly what happened.
You guys know what Super Tuesday is? Is when the largest number of states will be holding presidential primaries or caucuses. Are you experiencing this right now? Because I know that I am.
It was a big deal also because of the presidential primaries, and that's how a lot of people reach voters.
I just have one question for you guys. Do you think this is just a coincidence?
Now, when Facebook and Instagram went down, I didn't know anything about Super Tuesday. I'm not really much into politics, but this is just something that I saw in my research, and it was a pretty big deal. There was even a cyber attack on healthcare, and this is all back to back following this warning from the FBI just 3 weeks before.
Hackers are targeting our critical infrastructure, our water treatment plants, our electrical grid, our oil and natural gas pipelines, our transportation systems, and the risk that poses to every American requires our attention now.
Is this all kind of making sense when it comes to the timeline of why TikTok is being banned? I hope it does, because it's gonna get juicier. So why is it important to ban TikTok? Have you read their terms of service?
Keystroke patterns and rhythms.
For geolocation-related data, browsing and search history.
You're effectively giving them everything that you have on your phone, and they can use it for whatever purposes that they decide.
Software engineer Felix Krause recently shared these images on Twitter, stating, TikTok, when opening any website in their app, injects tracking code that can monitor all keystrokes, including passwords and all taps.
This is how a lot of attacks end up occurring, where you can guess somebody's username or password by what they're inputting on their phones.
I know that most of the time when we download a cool app, we just kind of agree to everything, and we don't really have the time to read these. I mean, it would take days to read all of these contracts. It's pretty much what it is. It's a giant contract. And if you didn't know, TikTok is owned by China. And this video has nothing to do with the people of China. I love the people of China. It's about the people that run China, the Chinese Communist Party. And right now, they are trying to ruin us. Danger isn't on the way. It's already here. and it's gonna get worse.
What is the risk to national security?
It's not just your information that they're collecting. They're also using what's in your profile, your contacts and other kind of files and data. And so let's say you know somebody that works in law enforcement or national security. There's a risk of things like doxing, where the identities and people that work in specialized areas are effectively conveyed.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons why this situation was brought up so damn fast. They know who took down Facebook and Instagram and at&T and our healthcare and maybe other things that we don't know about. They know. So what did they do? A week later, we're gonna take TikTok from you. I am a TikTok creator myself. I have many friends that rely on TikTok. I mean, this is sort of a bad situation for some social media influencers, and this has nothing to do with them. Like, I feel bad that if this app does go down, which it will, they're gonna lose a livelihood. So hopefully they can kind of make up for that by transitioning into Instagram or maybe the YouTube Shorts program. I mean, what would happen if our government just came out and said that we were actually hacked? at&T thing, Facebook, all that. You think people are upset now about not being able to log into Facebook? It would be a complete show. And the government knows this. So the reason they don't want to tell us certain things is for our own good. They don't want to see people freaking out. And I don't blame them. I mean, it would make things far worse. That's why you didn't see that FBI meeting just a month ago on mainstream media. You have to kind of look for it. Those permissions that you give TikTok are scary. They literally take your entire identity. You know how in the last video I was talking about the Chinese spy balloon that everybody freaked out about?
We worried about the spy balloon hanging over the U.S. You know, a lot of people put this out. It's 170 million spy balloons.
And see, the CCP isn't trying to physically attack America right now. And yes, that's coming too. So you may ask, what's all this beef with China? Well, there's a few that stand out to me. Greed and power. Huge example here with industrial espionage. The Chinese Communist government is sending spies to come here and rob people of their businesses. Not just big businesses, but small businesses too. And I'll give you a couple examples. In 2010, this Chinese company called Sinovel had an electrical grid system set up with windmills. And their windmills kept blowing up and catching on fire, and they were losing a lot of money. So they sought out help from a company here in the USA called American Superconductor, aka AMSC, and this Chinese company ended up being a huge contract for this American company. Well, their problems were fixed. They weren't having any more windmills blowing up, being that they were using American parts now and special software that keeps things running smoothly. They pay somebody off from the inside to copy their source code software. After this happened, the guy resigns, gets paid, and the company Sinovel calls American Superconductor and is like, hey, we don't need y'all's services anymore. And I mean, this was like $400 and something million a year, okay? They went from a $1.4 billion market cap to $200 million. And nearly overnight, about 700 people lost their jobs. Wall Street thought that this company was going to go completely belly up. There was an investigation on this, and I believe that there was like a lawsuit. They ended up settling for like $50 million, which does not even put a dent in how much money this company lost. Another example is theft caused on our agriculture industry, and this one is big. And it was when a Chinese spy illegally purchased this corn seed from within a company that was developing an inbred hybrid type corn seed that took billions of dollars to develop and so many years. I believe it was like 30 years of R&D. And after they illegally purchased this seed, they took it back to China. Now, this is a pretty big deal. Even the FBI got involved.
These particular seeds, just to get one to market, takes on an average of 8 years.
I know it might sound silly, you know, oh, they stole some corn seed. You know, what's the big deal? I mean, this is billions of dollars here in the United States. 30 years of research, developing something for somebody to just come along and steal it without a worry that it could destroy someone's livelihood. This FBI agent says it pretty clear.
I tell everyone this, if China worked this hard to steal a corn seed, how hard would they work to steal what you produce?
Now let's talk about probably the biggest issue, and it's Taiwan. I didn't know anything about this, okay? I don't watch the news very much, but when I was doing my research on all of what's going on in our world, this is scary. In fact, hang on. All right, we're good. Now, in most of the 1940s, with the exception of World War II, there was two parties fighting a civil war in China. You had the Chinese nationals that were into democracy and freedom. Then you had the Communist Party, and they were at war. They did join forces when the Japanese tried to invade China, but once World War II was over, it was back to fighting again, and in 1949, the nationalists lost and they fled to Taiwan. Until this day, even though Taiwan is technically still China, it's a democracy. They have freedom there. They have nothing to do with the CCP or the communist government of mainland China. And the American people are allies. In fact, they have a lot of allies. They got South Korea, they got Japan, Australia, India, just to name a few. And mainland China, or the CCP, they want Taiwan back. Having control over Taiwan is a big deal. They could pretty much control the Pacific. And this could be a pretty big deal for most of the world. So why hasn't China invaded Taiwan yet? Well, they're being smart about it. I mean, you think these guys are stupid? Nah.
Would U.S. forces defend the island? Yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack.
Joe Mullen from Australia, former Senator Major General, just last year issued a code red warning.
My code red warning is a surprise attack by China on American facilities in the vicinity of Taiwan.
So you think they'll neutralize the enemy, so to speak, outside of Taiwan before going into Taiwan itself?
Correct. I believe they will neutralize the Americans, dominate the Western Pacific, and say to Taiwan, okay Japan, okay South Korea, are you really going to fight us now that the Americans aren't behind you anymore? And I've been saying that we should prepare for a war between China and the United States with us as collateral, not the main aim. We're collateral. And fundamentally, the Chinese now have the capability to take out all our communications and space capabilities across the entire spectrum of space.
When it comes to space, China was late to the game, but has very quickly caught up. Their ambitious space program now leads the world in annual rocket launches. China now has more than 360 satellites orbiting the Earth.
The Chinese are rehearsing and practicing this all the time, taking out the world's, not just the Americans, the world's satellites. There is nothing the Americans can do.
This makes perfect sense. Take out the Americans first. Once they eliminate the United States, they can take over Taiwan, and guess what? Japan ain't gonna want no beef. Everybody else, South Korea, whoever else is involved, they're not gonna want anything to do with China once the Americans are out of this. And Taiwan will have to be forced to fight this war on their own. That's unless, of course, we play the chicken game and we're like, nah, we're not backing down, we're gonna fight, which could ultimately lead into World War III. And if you didn't know anything about the world wars that happened, I mean, you should educate yourself. Let's talk about what ended World War II. So the United States developed this nuclear weapon called an atom bomb.
A military and naval feat unequaled in all history. If the Japanese insist on continuing resistance, their country will suffer the same destruction as Germany. Only surrender can prevent the kind of ruin as a result of continued useless resistance.
They didn't listen to the warnings, the war kept going, and then Hiroshima happened.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor.
Many people lost their lives. I mean, it was complete devastation. This was a nuclear bomb. This is what stopped World War II. I mean, as devastating as it was, it kind of needed to happen because war is terrible. They had no choice but to give up. You know why? Because they did not have nuclear weapons. Now let's fast forward to now, 2024, where just about every country has nuclear weapons. And we're not talking about these atom bombs, okay, which is a nuclear weapon as well. We're talking about thermonuclear weapons. Think about something being 500 times stronger. This would destroy our world. So a world war would more than likely be the end of the world. I do have an upcoming video that I was going to do before this one about how so many celebrities are creating these nuclear bomb shelters. Why? They must know something, right? So how is China going to do this if they do it? Most devastating attacks are a surprise and unexpected. I mean, yeah, they can get rid of us with one nuclear missile if they wanted to, but first, let's see what we can get from them financially. We can attack them from the inside.
China is not going to give us a year and a half's warning on this, as the Japanese and the Germans gave us in World War II. In fact, they've already given us warning.
Take down their phones, take down their social media, their internet, electricity, water, gas. If they do that, there's no news to watch to know if something is coming. And that goes back to, is our government gonna warn us? There's gonna be some things here and there, but you have to search for it. Just like you found this video. Think about the devastation it would cause if everybody were to know that we're under attack right now and you didn't prepare yourself. I live here in Florida, and anytime a hurricane is on its way, even a week out, we prepare. But that's kind of hard when everybody goes to the store at one time, buys up all the water, all the canned food, all the non-perishables. You almost have to prepare before you even get the warning of a hurricane coming. So hey Omar, how do we prepare? Well, if it were me, first of all, pray. Our cell phones went down, so this is not a bad time to invest in a landline. A lot of us don't have landlines, so get yourself a landline. Maybe a CB radio, learn how to do ham radio, walkie-talkies, build up a food supply. There's no hurt into building a food supply. We have hurricanes here just about every year. It's imperative that we have a small stock of canned food just in case we're out of power for a week or so. I have seen it happen before. If you have the means available, start building a fallout shelter. I do have an Amazon supply list that I'm putting together and I'm adding to little by little, and it's for every budget. If you have any ideas of things that we can add to this Amazon list, please let me know here in the comments. I'm not making this video to scare anyone. It is very important to, no matter what the case, be prepared versus being surprised and devastated. It's time to ready up, fam.